All right, here we go. Day 3 of 365. And today's meditation was interesting. I'll walk through, a couple of the processes I like to follow. Feel free to try them. I don't necessarily do them in any particular order always. Again, if you're very new to meditation, you can try some guided ones. Joe Dispenza, Changing Beliefs and Perceptions, is an excellent meditation that follows a similar practice that I do. But I feel like for me, I'd rather do that in my own time, more self-paced, as it allows for room to experience whatever I need to in that moment, whether it takes less time or more time. So that's kind of why I'm not doing a guided meditation at this point. So today's meditation, one of the things I like to do, and this is actually a Buddhist practice, so it's sort of engaging in a conversation / visualization with your younger self. So go back to a point in time where you experienced something unpleasant. For me, I went back to I think about 6 or 7 years old. I don't remember the particular age, but I remember the event, and it was the first time I think I felt sort of pretty heavy anxiety, and I communed with the younger version of Greg and myself, and visualized that interaction, and visualized sort of calming myself, walking myself home from school. I actually took my own child hand as an adult and walked myself home from school, and sort of calmed myself down in conversation. Again, I visualized this dialogue, this interaction that's going on, and it helps to release sort of the the memory associated with that anxiety-riddled event, and sort of put the memory at ease, or the younger version of myself that experienced that at ease. Usually when I do these, if it's effective, or I find it's effective, it ends in some sort of emotional outburst, usually tears, not necessarily sadness, just sort of gratitude, joy, love, that sort of thing. So that was today. After that, I went on to mantras, and often what I'll do is I'll repeat certain mantras, positive affirmations, you might call them, but I'll repeat a mantra like I'm loved, or I'm lovable, or I am worthy, or whatever you feel like you need to work on, whatever there might be an absence of, or you might hold a belief or around about yourself or the world. And so I was doing that today, and I'll poke around until I find something that sort of makes me twinge. And it's usually a physical response. I feel it. Today my face I could feel it kind of contorting up, and this sort of wall in my psyche where it was, whatever I was saying was not congruent with a belief that was held for sure. So when that happens, when I find that discomfort or resistance to whatever it is that I'm saying, I sort of poke and prod and, persist, if you will, with that message to myself. And today it's always usually about being lovable at this point in time, because that's sort of the focus of my meditation at present day moment. And I attempted to suggest the idea that I'm lovable even when I cheat, lie, or steal. And this goes back to, obviously events or that occurred in my life, including, I remember as a child stealing gum or candy bars from the grocery store and being caught. And there was this resistance. I could not get those things to pass my psyche. And again, it's not to say that the things that I did in the past were okay or not okay, but it's to acknowledge that they were done, and to sort of forgive myself anyway, and to recognize that beating myself up or judging myself or condemning myself in any way for past mistakes is not useful. It doesn't lead to further growth. It doesn't lead to anything productive. So that was sort of the discovery today. I tried mightily to pass that message by the subconscious. It did not work. I tried and tried and tried, did not work. And so eventually I kind of went back to positive feelings, and then I finished off on sort of a visualization of a future life that I would like to make for myself, and opened my eyes, and immediately I felt this giant rush of anxiety just like crush me. And so I thought, okay, it had been about an hour at that point, and so I closed my eyes and said, I'm not done, I guess, and I went back into meditation for about another half hour. And what I realized when I closed my eyes again and started exploring, like, what is it that I'm thinking that's causing this crushing sensation of anxiety? Because our thoughts are going to create the emotional response, whether they're conscious or subconscious, they are, or what are creating the emotions. And so I sort of discovered this, there's this rigidity of belief, lack of forgiveness, and it actually tied into a fixed mindset. So an inability to forgive myself for any error, but that actually spilled over into my day-to-day life, where I had been procrastinating on something, and I had this inability to just acknowledge that I procrastinated, it's okay, it's not permanent, move on. The other thing that came out like a bat out of hell was the fact that yesterday, day 2 of my meditations, I did not journal. And so I have had this tendency in the past to be hyper rigid, and there's an association or correlation between rigidity and mental health. Hyper rigid, generally not super mentally well. But in not journaling on day 2, I felt like there was this subconscious part of me that felt like there was no point to continue journaling. Like, I didn't do it perfectly. What's the point? Forget about it. And I have experienced that in my life on many occasions. This, if it's not perfect, then just fuck it, blow it all up and give up. Part of my language. And not helpful, not useful. And again, there's sort of this fixed mindset and this rigid mindset around what is good enough and trying to be perfect, and it's extremely unhealthy. So I guess the takeaways were, and the reminders were, do not be rigid in your belief systems, do not be rigid in your behaviors, do not hold yourself to things that are not realistic, or maybe just not necessarily helpful or productive. And that goes for anyone who's following along and doing meditations as well. If you feel like you need a day off, take the day off. If you feel like you need a break, take a break, because trying to push through it, to grind it out, or beating yourself up because you didn't do something that you should have, doesn't help. And if you're procrastinating on something and you beat yourself up because you should have done it, you're just going to create greater levels of anxiety. And again, studies show that the cause of procrastination is anxiety. So it's really hard to take action on whatever it is that you're trying to do when you feel very anxious. I guess that's it. Like, subscribe, follow along if you're interested. You got any questions, post them. I don't necessarily have all the answers, but I'll do my best and to answer any questions you have. And one last thing. If you are interested in learning a little bit about meditation and what's going on in meditation, I just listened to a great podcast by Andrew Huberman on meditation. Huberman Labs, great podcast, one of my favorite ones. I'm probably going to get this wrong. Neuroscientist out of Stanford, I believe. And I don't know what his official designation is, but he's a researcher at Stanford, I believe. He talks about meditation from a neuroscience perspective and some protocols you could potentially follow when considering the type of meditation practice you might want to do. So go check it out. Great stuff. Thanks. Have a great day.